If I had to start soap making from scratch, what would I do differently in order to save money, time, and of course my peace? Today I'm gonna show you the 4 things you need to do in order to avoid the biggest soap making pain points and save yourself time, money, and energy. And if you're new here, my name is Perry. I have a master's in chemical engineering and biotechnology, and for the past 5 years I've been working in the biotech industry, focusing on skincare molecules. And I am obsessed with one thing: understanding formulation and the why behind things. I have transformed my soap making from this to this and tackled issues like dreaded orange spots, trace acceleration, scent that fades after 3-4 weeks, oil selection overwhelm, and I've also helped hundreds of other soap makers achieve the same goal. So let's break down exactly how you can go from this to this. And if you want to join a private community of amazing people, access to video courses and soap making tools, then make sure to scan the QR code here. Number one thing I would do if I had to start from scratch, I would choose maximum 4 to 5 oils to work with. I would eliminate the other 100 oils that you see online that sound very fancy but add no extra value to your soap. So here are the 4 oils that I would use. Number 1, olive oil. Olive oil is high in oleic acid and low in linoleic acid. It's what offers conditioning properties to your soap. Once oleic acid reacts with sodium hydroxide, it converts to sodium olate that offers an amazing conditioning and gentle lather. Olive oil is the key ingredient if you're making soap for sensitive or dry skin types, and the most popular soaps out there, like the Aleppo soap, the Marseille soap, the Castille soap, they all have one thing in common, is that they have a very high concentration of olive oil. There are other conditioning oils like sunflower oil, rapeseed oil, avocado oil. Those come with some disadvantages. First of all, sunflower oil is high in linoleic acid. Linoleic acid is also a conditioning acid just as oleic acid, but the problem with linoleic acid is that it's a polyunsaturated fat and it's very prone to oxidation, meaning that it goes rancid very fast. So oils like sunflower oil, rice bran oil, grapeseed oil, rosehip oil that have a high concentration of linoleic acid, they have a higher tendency of going rancid and leading to the so-called dreaded orange spots. So next time you go and buy a very expensive oil like grapeseed oil or pumpkin seed oil that costs way more than olive oil, basically take a look at the fatty acid composition profile. You will see that it has a very high concentration of linoleic acid, so basically you pay more money to buy something that will go rancid faster in soap. In other skincare products it's different because there you do not have saponification, you do not have lye, so these oils behave differently. The same thing goes with other expensive oils like avocado oil or macadamia oil. Basically those oils are high in oleic acid and low in linoleic acid, just like olive oil, but they're way more expensive, so they don't add any extra values. Of course they do have some extra vitamins, antioxidants and nutrients that do not exist in olive oil, but bear in mind all of these vitamins and antioxidants, they get degraded in a soap making environment. They get degraded in a high pH and high temperature environment, just like we see in soap. So in the end, you don't get any extra value compared to olive oil. Other alternatives to olive oil can be high oleic sunflower oil, which is slightly cheaper and it has been treated to have a high concentration of oleic acid. Then you can also use canola oil or rapeseed oil. Those have a higher chance of rancidity, they have higher concentration of linoleic acid, but you can still use them in a low concentration, up to 10% if you want to substitute olive oil for something cheaper. So first oil, olive oil. Second oil, coconut oil. Coconut oil is high in lauric acid and myristic acid. When those react with sodium hydroxide in soap, they create sodium laurate and sodium myristate, which adds a lot of bubbles to your soap. Other cleansing oils are babasu oil, but babasu oil is more expensive than coconut oil, so I wouldn't recommend it. If you have sensitive skin or dry skin, you can just remove coconut oil completely because coconut oil bubbles a lot, and when it bubbles a lot, it also strips away the natural fat from your skin if you have very sensitive skin. Then the third category is something that adds creaminess and hardness, and there I would choose shea butter. Shea butter is high in stearic and palmitic acid. It's an amazing fat. It works perfectly both for sensitive skin types and normal skin types, and it also makes an amazing shaving soap. If you don't want to use shea butter, you could also use beef tallow, which if you buy it unrendered, it's very cheap, and then you render it yourself. So beef tallow is a very, very cheap ingredient, and it's quite similar to shea butter. And the last oil is castor oil. This we use in low concentration. It's the only oil out there, at least that I know of, that has a high concentration of ricinoleic acid. And when that reacts with lye, it leads to an amazing thick and rich lather. So I would highly recommend adding castor oil in a concentration of 5 to 6% in your normal soaps. And by the way, if you want a free PDF that contains 7 ingredients that can lead to 6 completely different skincare products, then comment "I want the formulation" and I will send to you as soon as I see your comment. This is to prove to you that you can make 6 different skincare products with only 7 ingredients and you don't need more. Number 2 thing I would do differently if I had to start soap making from scratch. I would make sure that I always use essential oils together with a base note. One of the most frustrating things that can happen to a soap maker is investing a lot of money to buy an expensive essential oil, because essential oils can be the main cost driver in soap making, especially if you buy high quality essential oils. And basically your soap smells amazing right after you make it, and after 3-4 weeks of curing, the scent has almost disappeared. It can be very frustrating because you invested so much money on it, you were very excited, and suddenly you see that the scent is not there. So there are a few things that happen here that cause the scent to fade. Certain essential oils, especially the citrusy ones like lemon essential oil, sweet orange essential oil, bergamot essential oil, grapefruit essential oil, and some of the spicy ones, they are of very low molecular weight. They're very light, and when they're very light, they tend to evaporate fast. And also in a soap making environment, always think soap making environment is different than other environments, other skincare environments like hand creams or shampoo bars or anything else. Because in a soap making environment, you have a high pH. You have a very high pH, a very alkaline pH, and that tends to degrade your products. Also, you have a higher temperature, which tends to make volatile compounds more volatile. At the same time, all these citrusy oils, they're prone to oxidation. So every time you open the bottle to pour essential oil inside your bowl, then basically oxygen goes in, and those substances, they tend to oxidize really, really fast. So what you do in this case is that you always make sure you pair your essential oils with a base note like patchouli or vetiver essential oil in order to make it more long lasting. Base notes are of very high molecular weight and they make other substances last longer. So they create this molecular matrix where it's harder for substances to evaporate. Number 3 thing I would do if I had to start soap making from scratch, I would mix my oils and lye solution at low similar temperatures. That would be the most important step towards avoiding trace acceleration, because when you mix at higher temperature means higher saponification. Higher temperature speeds up saponification, and when you speed up saponification, your butter might solidify so fast you don't have time to pour it into the mold. And I would also make sure my oils and lye solution are at similar temperatures, because if one of them is at 30 degrees and the other one is at 40 degrees, that will create separation. So you want them to be at around the same temperature, plus minus 2-3 degrees. And number 4 thing that I would do differently if I had to start soap making from scratch in order to save money, time and energy would be that I would make sure that I understood what light trace is. Light trace, it's basically when you mix your oils and lye solution together and they start emulsifying, they start becoming one. And light trace is when they become thick, that they start sticking on the stick blender, and it kind of becomes thick just like a heavy cream. When you pour heavy cream into the bowl, that's the consistency you want. This is what we call light trace. In the beginning, I didn't know exactly what light trace is, and I would either mix too much with the blender that I would reach heavy trace and then I would have problems. I wouldn't have a lot of time to pour my additives or my scent and later on pour my soap into the mold. Or I would mix too little and the oils and lye, they wouldn't emulsify completely together and I would get separation. So this can happen during curing if you don't mix properly together, and if you mix too little, your oils and lye solution will separate and your soap will be very, very mushy and very soft. So those are the 4 things I would do differently if I had to start from scratch in order to save money, time and energy and preserve my peace. I hope you could find this video useful. I hope you really enjoyed this video and it could add some value to you. I hope you enjoyed this beautiful surrounding. It's May and it's beautiful now. The weather starts getting better, so I will do more of this outdoor filming, and I hope you could enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next time.